What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 7 of the Bullseye podcast. Today, I have Phil and Tyler. Hello.
Hey,
Carl will be joining us shortly. And I think that's going to be it for this week. In terms of guys on the show, should be a good one. We're all majorly depressed over the events of the Cincinnati game.
just when I think I'm going to stop caring about this team, they somehow reel me back in and break my heart again.
I'm not happy that we lost, but it means I can still go to games since I wasn't there.
Oh, you know what? That's a silver lining, I guess.
Exactly.
You can still be sad at other games.
Yep.
Especially the Memphis game this week.
Sheesh, man. I'm not happy. I'm definitely not
happy, Bob.
In terms of our offensive stats, we blew them out of the water. Again, a second game in a row where we had a solid offensive performance aside from points scored.
The little things.
The little things.
The things that matter at the end of the day.
We had 17 points, 12, potentially 19 points left on the field due to a bad kicking performance and a call that should never have been called.
I think he had 2 bad kicks. The other 2 were over 50 yards, and I'm not going to blame anybody for missing 50-plus yarders.
Okay, that's still 6 points and enough to call us a winning team here. But his the most he's ever done from this. Sorry. Drink some water here.
The only one that was really inexcusable, I think, was the last one, the most important one.
Yeah,
because if you make that kick, at the very least, you're going to overtime.
The final drive was a heartbreaker, especially because that offense had done almost nothing in terms of passing the entire game up until that point.
And we held them to 2 really long third downs.
Once we got 78 total passing yards, most of which were on that drive.
Yeah. Not great.
Not great.
I just feel like this is another wasted defensive performance because they've been solid to, at least passable all season. With the way our defense has been playing, we should not be 4-6, but here we are. And our offense with 438 total yards should be scoring more than 17 points. And we can't even put it on penalties this week. We only had 55 penalty yards all game, which is really good by Charlie Strong standards.
Yeah. It's just a case of, sucks to be us, I guess. This is prime USF disappointment.
It's games like this that really give. It's games like this that really give credibility to the theory that the school was built on an Indian burial ground with the luck this school has.
Well, in terms of curses, this came up last night when Vincent Jackson Jr. tweeted about the 2015 curse of 17, right? In 2015, we lost 24-17 to Maryland, 49-17 to NC State, 28-17 to East Carolina, and 34-17 to Cincinnati.
I really hate the number 17.
Is it a curse, or is it the fact that most times you score 17 points, you're going to lose?
But I mean, yes, if you only score 17 points, unless you have a rock-solid defense, you're not going to win very many football games. But it's kind of ironic that seems how many losses that season. That's most of the losses, and when it's all on the same number, it's almost hilarious at this point. I mean, I'm glad that hasn't been a thing for a couple of years, but I remember every game when we got to 17 points, we're like, all right, if we can get past this, we're going to win, and we would never get past 17.
It's just last night it came back, twofold because they were number 17 in the country.
Hadn't thought
So
about that part,
it was
honestly.
double the strength. The gods of football decided, you know what? We're not going to let USF have this one. We're going to make the wind blow that kick so far out of the way. It's never going to be on target.
I mean, we even went 8 for 17 on third down conversions. The defense had pitched a shutout in the first half. It's just, these are the tough one to swallow. I don't care that we played number 17 in the country. If you look at the stats, this is a game they should have won. And did anybody see the George Selvey tweet when he was asked at the game, asked if Strong should be given more time, and he was saying yes because they're playing hard, and I think continuity was the other part of that.
Continuity doesn't mean shit after people graduate.
Maybe not, but you still have the same
Carl.
Hey, Carl.
going on. You still have the same players going on with the same coaching staff, the same system, basically the entire time that they're there. It makes sense to have some sort of continuity going on.
I think it's going to be forced continuity. USF's not going to get rid of Charlie. I don't see Kelly doing anything about it until we really financially could. And right now, we definitely can't.
And that's the other half of it right there. Is just the fact that we simply can't afford to get rid of Charlie. And really, that's that. End of story.
It's not that, I don't think it's not that Kelly doesn't want to. I mean, I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but we know that he has the mindset of, if we're going to keep score, you might as well win. And he's already shown it with, smaller programs, admittedly. With, he got rid of the coaching staff across country, and we've already seen results there. This is going to be a telling offseason with, especially if we don't win another game and we finish 4-8. And then also with volleyball, they have lost more games in a row in conference play than sets won. And this is the final year of Courtney Draper's contract. So we're going to find out a lot about Kelly's philosophy with coaching and, making changes with these coaching decisions.
I'll tell you what. I think that this is a very shrewd move by Michael. I think this is a very shrewd move by Michael Kelly, getting rid of Courtney after on her last year of her contract. That way, he doesn't have to do any sort of buyout whatsoever. There's more money that can go towards other things that are going to be more important. So I think this is a very, very good move by him, and a very shrewd one to just wait it out, get it over with, and then find someone new, because clearly Courtney's not the answer.
I think we know who it should all be, right? He threw his hat into the ring last night via Twitter.
For the volleyball team?
Matt Grothy.
Obviously.
Sure,
Grothy every
coach
sport. He should coach every sport that doesn't have Jose Fernandez at the helm.
Or Steve Bradley.
Right.
Baseball's fine.
You never know what you're going to
Baseball's
get
fine.
with baseball.
Soccer is very much fine.
Basketball's fine.
Matt Grothy.
Softball's fine.
Yeah. So basically just football and volleyball.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. I mean, Grothy's got presence. He's got
my heart. Wait, who? What?
He's got your heart. I was gonna say he has nice hair, but he doesn't have hair.
Is a USF legend. Clearly loves the university, but it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I'll defer to you. Were actually at the game, but I'm curious with your thoughts. With so Grothy on Twitter, he was saying zero passion, and that's when he starts to go into this whole Grothy for coach. I will bring the energy. So what was the energy like at the game yesterday?
I think the energy from the team was pretty good, pretty much throughout the game. It was only when it really started to become clear that Cincinnati had that momentum that everything started to drain out of the stadium. It was really that big play on, was it third down and
11?
Yeah, third and 11 in our own territory, and their running back reels off a big one. That is when it really sucked the air out of the stadium. And at that point, they were already in field goal range, so it really didn't change a whole lot that we couldn't stop them from getting another first down. I think that Grothy was a little bit overzealous with that thought there. But at the same time, he's not wholly wrong. There have been some games which the team does seem to have given up entirely. So, yes,
You mean leaving 2 timeouts in your pocket down to only 10?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the big one right there. But in terms of yesterday's game, yes, that's an example right there. But in terms of Saturday's game, no, the team was playing hard pretty much through the end, and they just simply didn't have an answer for that running back in the second half. That Cincinnati line came out firing in the second half, and we just could not stop them once they finally found their rhythm.
I will say that I think maybe this game in particular, more so than any other one in this season, I don't think any of this was Charlie's fault. If we're going to blame him when it's his fault, I don't know that any of this was his fault, in the spirit of fairness.
I give Charlie a lot of grief here. The boys were ready to play yesterday.
KJ,
Cincinnati,
keep going.
To come out and just absolutely shut down Cincinnati's offense in the first half. And really, when you hold an offense like Cincinnati's to 20 points the whole game, you need to win. So I'm split. Special teams failed us yesterday. A very controversial offensive pass interference pick play that took 7 points off the board.
I'm going to stop you right there, Phil. That was not controversial in the absolute slightest. That happened right in front of me, and I knew that was going to get called the moment it happened. It wasn't close. It slowed down. It looked one way, but at full speed, it was so very obviously a pick play, and it was just that was a poor call. That was a very, very poor call by the offensive coordinator. Kerwin, you got to do better there. That was not a great call. It was very poorly executed too. There was an awkwardly loud crack of pads when the receiver made contact with the corner there, and as soon as that happened, it was always going to get called.
But he was still running through his route, though.
It doesn't matter. That was always going to get called, no matter what, because it was a very poorly done route. It was so sloppy. It was so sloppy. It was the easiest call that official made all day.
If he doesn't make contact, you're not talking about it, and he just diverts the DB's route, it's a non-issue and it's a touchdown, and we're probably celebrating. So I don't know if
100%.
calling it a bad play call is accurate, because it could have worked.
The thing for me, yes, I agree, but at the same time, given how well we've been executing on offense, I think it was a poor play call, because we can't really execute these things on offense. We need to keep it fairly basic, because the offense just can't get it going for whatever reason. I'm starting to get a little bit down on McLeod right now, because his throws haven't been that great recently. And it's hard to say that he's really the guy. Like, who knows? I'm really starting to wonder.
I don't think there's anybody else in the QB room who's the guy right now, though.
I also agree with that.
But with all this, McLeod was moving the ball, though. The offense was. I will say I liked and what I noticed is that time of possession was 32 minutes to 28 minutes. So what I liked, it seemed whenever our defense, for the most part, needed a breather, yeah, we didn't always go put points on the board, but we picked up a first down or two, flipped the field position, and gave the defense a breather. So at least the offense is moving the ball to a degree. So I'll admit I didn't get to see the whole game yesterday, but for the little bit I saw, McLeod looked all right. I mean, on paper, 18 for 27, 267 yards and a touchdown. Not bad, but I don't know. I can't say without seeing the full game how I feel about him being the guy or not. But the offense is moving the ball. The offense is moving the ball better than they did against a better team than they did earlier in the year. That's all I can say.
Simultaneously, McLeod looked good and bad yesterday. He had flashes of great play, and then there was just not great play. And when it wasn't great play, it was just generic. Didn't look very good. I don't know what you really want there.
How much are you? Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
How much are you expecting of him as a freshman, though? Is that not factoring into your? Because he might not be the guy, but Q didn't look like the guy when he was a freshman.
No, he very much didn't, but he showed some level of progress, and it doesn't feel like McLeod's been progressing all that much. It feels like the rest of the offense is starting to click a little bit more, but there's still times when he's totally misreading the field, or he's making throws to receivers that just aren't there, and they just don't have that connection going right now. Those sort of things have been slowly getting a little bit better. I think that's the offense as a whole starting to click more. But McLeod himself, I don't really feel like I've seen much progression from him so far.
But does an offense really click without a quarterback at least leading it, though?
I don't think so.
Hard to say. It's
say what you like. Yes, I will agree. I saw the whole Temple game, and I did notice what you were saying, that there were some throws that McLeod made that probably should have been incompletions, where the receivers made great catches and they turned what probably should have been an incompletion into 5 or 6 yards. So I'm not going to say I totally disagree with you, but at the same time, McLeod's putting his playmakers with a chance to make plays, and they're making the plays. So I just cannot completely agree with the offense is clicking except for McLeod, because I always believe that your quarterback isn't always going to make or break your offense, but he's going to be the driver of it.
McLeod is very serviceable for how we run the current offense. He's no world beater as a freshman, but also he was thrown into the fire pretty rapidly after the Blake Barnett experiment didn't pan out. If we moved away from McLeod, even at the beginning of next year, it would be like a scapegoat effect, in my opinion. Unless whatever freshman or whoever we bring in, if we get a transfer or something, unless they're actually that much better, and immediately click with the team. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have McLeod, who has fought through all of this adversity with this current team, right? And no matter how bad he is, and he's really not even that terrible, he's just kind of nervous in the pocket. He has some growing to do. It's growing pains. If you change him out for anybody else next year, the stats might be better, but that the team might not mesh as well with anybody else, at least at the beginning. If he loses out during spring game and subsequent practice and loses a QB battle, that's 100% a possibility. And the team will go with whoever they feel is the best quarterback for the job, obviously. But I would not move away from McLeod at this point, nor would I move away from McLeod at least until we find someone that is significantly better as a leader, as a passer, and as someone who can run the offense.
I think that's probably the best possible take to have with this team at this point. McLeod is serviceable for this season, but if we manage to hang on to Roadmaker, that insanely talented high school senior that we have coming in next year, supposedly.
Don't forget he's being recruited by Kerwin.
Yes, exactly. I'll tell you what, if Kerwin ends up leaving, then he probably goes with Kerwin wherever Kerwin ends up going. So, again, if we manage to hang on to Roadmaker, I have a feeling that he probably starts next season.
Something to think about also is, why burn the red shirt? Why not let Roadmaker sit out, learn what he can, not force him to be the savior of USF. Even if we have another bad year, just wait out one more year of Charlie Strong's contract if we don't get rid of him, right? And then we can make a decision when McLeod is a junior and Rodemaker would be a redshirt freshman in his sophomore year, whether or not we should actually move to a new quarterback. I think you need to really give McLeod some room to grow here. It's not like we're going to be conference champions in the next few years anyway with the current group. Let's just see where McLeod takes us and be as, if not more, patient with him than we were with Barnett, who was supposed to be, when he got here, it was this 5-star recruit from Alabama who's a really good quarterback, and for 7 games, he was a really good quarterback. We all like Barnett. We still like Barnett. He's hurt, and he just didn't get the job done. I kind of feel for him because he should have been successful here. I think you got to stick with McLeod as far as you'll let him.
I'm going to agree there. Give the kid a red shirt. Let him adjust. Let him adjust to college life. Let him get comfortable with our system, what we want to do. And I'm very curious to see what McLeod does with another summer of preparation, knowing the playbook, ready to be the guy. We're going to learn very quickly next year because don't we open the season with Texas?
That should be our travel game.
Yeah, and I also found out I'm only a couple hours from Austin, and looks like my schedule is going to work out. So yeah, that should definitely be our travel game.
The only thing that I have to say really about that whole situation is with how he's being recruited right now, the way to get him here might be telling him that he's going to have a real good shot at getting the starter role, or at least giving him a big shot at competing. That might be the way that we get him over whoever else is recruiting him.
There should always be a quarterback battle. I don't believe in pretty much bringing a kid in and just slapping a red shirt on him. I truly believe in, everybody comes in, every position's up for grabs, including quarterback. So if he comes in and he is just head and shoulders better than McLeod, he should start week 1 in Austin. If he's not, or even if it's on an even level, I would give him the red shirt and then and have McLeod do it. But no, absolutely give the kid a fair shot and make sure that he knows. And I agree with you, Tyler. Make sure he knows that you are going to get a fair look to be a true freshman.
The biggest thing for me with Roadmaker is the fact that he is very much more the quarterback that Kerman likes versus McLeod or anyone else on the roster right now. Looking at some of his highlight realm, he's the kind of guy that Justin and I were looking at in the Valdosta State game where we were breaking down film over the summer. Roadmaker is very much more that kind of quarterback, and we simply don't have that kind of quarterback who can just sling the ball no matter where the hell it is.
He's more of a pro style, right?
Yes, he is. And I think that right there is going to give him a monster advantage over anyone else on the roster, anyone that we bring in. And that's why I honestly think that he'll end up starting next year straight out of the gate. He simply gets that kind of system better than anyone else that we currently have.
But unless you're going to put a kid in there who you're very comfortable with, do you really want to throw a true freshman if he's not ready just for the sake of, this is the kind of offense he wants to run? If he's not ready, do you really want to throw him into the fire in Austin, Texas, week 1?
What is the difference between what is pro style? Because wasn't Blake Barnett pro style?
Sort of.
Why not?
Sort of. No, here's the thing with Blake Barnett. He works really well in the Sterling Gilbert, where everything is kind of pre-written and he doesn't have to read the field as well. Whereas Roadmaker very much can read the field on the fly, go through his progressions much better than Barnett can, and make that decision to, okay, here's where I'm going to go with the ball right now. Bang, off we go. McLeod does have that hesitation. He reads the field better than Barnett, I think. But at the same time, he's just a little bit more hesitant than he should be.
Okay. I don't have analysis at that level, so okay.
I'll take your word for it. I know you and Justin are the ones that really know what you're talking about with that.
At some point, we'll have Justin on to really break it down. But
National Signing Day is not too far away.
Oh boy, we better hope we can hold on to Roadmaker until then.
Speaking of National Signing Day, veer off for a second. Brian Gregory with a pretty big win in shooting guard what was it, Caleb Murphy, 4-star. Ned, if you would have told me, even a year and a half ago that we would be able to draw a 4-star recruit for our men's basketball, I would have laughed. I would have laughed at you.
That is such a big pickup because boy, are we going to need a shooting guard next year? I can't overstate how big of a pickup this is. If he really does pan out as a freshman next year, it's going to be glorious to watch.
But yeah, he'll need to replace and restock a lot coming up here with all the unfortunate things that have happened this year.
And we can get more into that. We want to break down Memphis at all, or we just want to do predictions?
I don't have an image to really break down Memphis, honestly. I've basically checked out on the season, and if this weekend goes the way I'm hoping it does, I'm not even going to be at the stadium.
Let me ask you guys this question.
Okay.
Would you rather lose the last 2 games of the year or beat Memphis, upset a top 25 team at home on senior day, but miss bowl eligibility because of a Black Friday loss?
So you're asking if we'd rather lose 2 or lose 1?
But lose any shot at bowl eligibility at the hands of that school in Orlando.
I don't really care, honestly. I've long since accepted that we're
the bowl game we'd get would be trash
really
anyway. Who cares
what goes on? And frankly, if we do get bowl eligibility, we should just turn the bowl down because we don't deserve to go there.
I'd rather win.
I mean,
winning would be nice.
Winning would be nice, but that would be a pretty shitty way to end the year.
I'd actually almost rather. I'd rather. Is there an option where we lose to Memphis but beat UCF and still?
I don't think so.
Still don't
I'm fine with that.
I'd rather not be embarrassed.
I mean, I think there's a better chance we beat UCF than Memphis.
I do agree with that.
But
yeah, UCF doesn't look so hot this year. I think after our game with Cincinnati, if we use that as fuel, and then we have a good game with Memphis, I think UCF has a reason to be scared of the
underdog. I would rather go into Black Friday with absolutely no stakes in the game. Honestly, I would rather lose to Memphis and go in knowing the bowl eligibility is now completely out of reach so that they can just play loose and easy and just go out there and just play. Honestly, don't go in there thinking, oh, well, we need to win if we want to reach bowl eligibility. We have to win. We have to win. And then it also, not only that, it gives UCF something to play for as well. If UCF has nothing to play for other than the rivalry, I think that'll give USF a bit of an advantage there because otherwise UCF does have a reason to play. It's to keep USF from reaching bowl eligibility apropos of nothing with one of our worst teams in years.
I would like the road sign back, though.
I would like the road sign.
Yeah.
Under no circumstances do I want to lose to UCF, but I think that USF has a better chance going in if there's no stakes in the game.
Probably.
So let's do our predictions for Memphis. How do you guys see this game ending?
35-14 Memphis.
Let's say 42-10 Memphis. And Phil? Okay, Justin wrote in 21-10. I'm going to scroll up and see if anyone else wrote one. Let me make sure for sure. Juan said 42-17.
Jesus Christ. This is crap.
What's crap? What happened?
They're just running to the basket, throwing it up because they know they're going to get the call.
Welcome, everybody, to the second half of this week's podcast. This is episode 6, part 2. Or is it episode 7? I've lost track. Fuck it. Carl will deal with that. Joining me is Phil. We're waiting on potentially Carl and Tyler, but haven't heard anything from them yet so far. So it's just going to be a chill, super quick update. we had a recording issue on
Thanks, Craig.
on Sunday night when Craig died. Craig is our recording software. So now we have Larry, who's going to be the backup to Craig. So if Craig dies, we'll have Larry.
Living
welcome,
like
Larry.
Larry.
So
where were we?
Phil's watching the USF Baylor women's basketball game, and they just came back from the half. Phil, if you want to enlighten me on how that game is going, I wasn't able to watch it.
So right now it's number 22 USF versus number 2 Baylor in Waco, Texas. It's currently with 9 minutes to go on the third, 30-23. The Bulls are trailing. They're not playing great, but they're playing hard. They're also playing a very tough, they're the reigning national champions for a reason, and they're within 7 points. They got it tied at a couple minutes into the second quarter before Baylor went on a 9-0 run. Fouls are going to be an issue. At the half, they had 3 players with 3 fouls. Baylor had 4 the entire first half. There have been some very ticky-tacky fouls called in this game, but Baylor's been the better team, but it's pretty encouraging that we're not playing that great and we're still within striking distance of the reigning national champs.
It would be the most USF thing if we lost due to officiating.
Sounds about right. I want to emphasize they're playing hard. Like, there's a lot of positives to take out of this, and go back to what Tyler was saying a couple weeks ago, that there's going to be growing pains. These are the kind of games that when you play and you play competitively, suddenly playing Temple and Cincinnati and a few other teams in American Conference play look a little easier in comparison.
I mean, just in terms of who Baylor is this year, they look unstoppable.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Going into this game, they only average. Sorry, Carl. Well, going into this, their average victory margin is 71 points. That's ridiculous. Now, it's also we're the best team they've played so far, and they're playing a couple of nobodies, but there's a lot of talent on that team. Like, you don't win by 71 points by accident.
So we're talking women's basketball. The game not going so hot currently for the Bulls as it is in session, but hopefully they pull it out at the end. Phil, you can keep us updated as the podcast rolls along. But speaking of basketball, I know you had an update you wanted to give regarding USF basketball as a whole.
Well, yeah, since we're on the women's, we'll stay with the women's game. Give me 1 second to find this tweet. While I'm looking, what would you say a good free throw percentage is for 2 games?
2 games, women's basketball, hover around 55 to 60%. Collegiate women's basketball, am I too low? Did I go with a higher number to make it seem like they're terrible?
Well, I was just asking what your take was, not this wasn't.
As someone who doesn't watch any sort of women's basketball, just watching basketball as a whole, I shoot around 50% from the line. I would expect women's basketball players to shoot around 60% because they're good. So USF up until this game is so far undefeated. Highest profile win is over number 15 Texas on November 8th. They won that game by 7 points, and then they absolutely blew the doors off of Howard, which we expected. USF officially the best bull-themed mascot team on the planet. We just have to play UB for domination's sake, but we don't play them this year. Maybe we'll see them in the tournament. blew the lid off of VCU. The thing is, this is our first road game. This is a test we haven't had so far this year.
And that is a good point. They didn't look phased in the first half on the road. Especially the biggest lead for Baylor has been 9 or 10 points, and every time it's gone to that point, the Bulls have had an answer with that. And it really just shows to the point of this team. But over the past week, the American Conference named Maria Alvarez as the AAC Rookie of the Week, and Bethy Muthunga was named to the A.
Phil, I fucking nailed it.
What?
I got the free throw percentage correct without even knowing what their average would be.
Really?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. I'm just excited about this. You can repeat that sentence in a minute. The USF free throw percentage for this year's USF Bulls team is 58%.
Wait, are we talking field goal or free throw?
Free throw.
Oh, I was talking field goal percentage, like shooting from the field.
Oh, you said free throw.
Oh, did I say free throw? I meant field.
The field goal percentage is 41%.
Well, over the past
as a team,
I believe it. That's about right. And that just tells you all you need to know about the freshman, soon-to-be sharpshooter Maria Alvarez, shooting roughly 66% from the field over this past week, being named to the AAC. As the AAC Rookie of the Week, and then Bethy Muthunga named to the honor roll, where she picked up a couple double-doubles. She's been incredible. They looked awesome against VCU, especially in front of all the elementary school kids. And, we're within 4 of Baylor with 5 minutes to go in the third, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I pulled up their cumulative stats so far this year. Alvarez is shooting pretty well. Actually, I think she's good for second best on the team. Third.
And she just drilled another.
Third or fourth best on the team, but she shoots way more than the other girls.
Oh, that girl is not great.
Before this game, she's 18 of 39 for a good point for a 46% field goal percentage total. So she makes a little 18 times 2 is 36. So she makes a little less than half her shots total. Hopefully this game, if she's going off like you're saying, she's doing better. Our best shooter right now is Bethy, like you said. She's shooting 23 of 32 for almost 72%, which is incredible. No matter where you play, that's high quality shots are going in. That means a lot.
She's been an absolute monster.
Yeah. So we got to keep her hot. We got to keep the Alvarez hot. But this is a team game. It's not just two people. We got I'm not going to pronounce this right. I'm just going to go first names. Is Enna or Ina?
Enna.
Hadich.
Hey, you're still doing better than the folks at the Big 12. Big 12 now. They're trying, but let's be honest. Like, we follow this team, and we could barely pronounce those names.
All right. So, interesting thing about Pahadich's stats is, in total, she's 19 of 46 for 41% field goals, right? But she's 16 of 32 for 50% of her three-pointers. 16 out of her 19 made shots are three-pointers.
That tells you all you need to know about. And that's what we were saying last week. Pressure's off her this year. She knows that, if she doesn't get going, she's got a whole team, a healthy team to pick her up. She's playing loose, and the stats reflect it.
Yeah. She's letting it fly from 3 and has made half of her shots in 4 games.
Imagine if both her and Alvarez find a way just to shoot even between 40-50% of their threes. This team would be unbeatable. Especially the way I told you that Baylor's winning their games by 71 points.
Right now, it's 37-34 with about 3 minutes to go in the third. That means USF's defense came to play today, and they're out rebounding a bigger and you can make an argument stronger Baylor side. So,
well, let me look at their previous games, and I'll tell you why they're outscoring those teams by so much. Okay, they were their fourth game on the schedule, but really were their only
real game,
real team so far, and then they don't play another team again until Indiana.
To be fair, the only real team we've played so far is Texas, but hey, we're more battle tested than Baylor is right now.
You're right. But also the only teams they've played so far are New Hampshire, Grambling State, which, sorry, Grambling State fans, you stole your logo from Georgia, who I'm pretty sure stole their logo from the Green Bay Packers. And then HBU, which I don't even know what that stands for.
Houston Baptist.
Houston Baptist. And they're Huskies. So Baylor went into this season thinking, if we can beat the Huskies at this level, maybe we'll beat UConn one day. Then they have after us Lamar, which is just some guy who lives in New York, Washington State, and then Indiana. And then once they're in Indiana, it gets real. All right, Indiana into South Carolina, into Georgia, into Arkansas State. They don't play, and then it gets really fucking real. Oklahoma, Connecticut. Ooh, they do get the cuss. Wow, those logos are exactly the same. Connecticut, stop stealing people's logos. This is twice this year.
And no, UConn still don't.
Oklahoma State. So they've got a lot of ranked teams in the back half of the schedule, but they have two about a week after they play us. 2 weeks after they play us. They scheduled cupcakes early, and they used us to look good as a quality win before they play Indiana. But if we beat Baylor tonight, which, by the way, quarter 3 minutes and 55 seconds left, we're down by 3. If we have a strong fourth quarter away from USF, we'll be in the top 20 by tomorrow, and Baylor will have fallen significantly. Because, again, the only people they've played so far are the biggest cupcakes in college basketball.
At the same time, they are the defending champions for a reason. Give Jose also shout out, happy birthday, Jose Fernandez.
Let's go.
He has these girls ready to play tonight. They do not look intimidated at all by the reigning champs.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. He's the greatest international recruiter in women's college basketball history. He brings in these people from all over the world, some of which don't speak a similar language, and yet he brings out the best in them on the court and in the classroom. He takes no bullshit. Great guy. I've had exactly one conversation with him total in my USF career. He was walking into the arena after parking and was holding his suit. So I said hi, and he said, "Hey, man, how's it going?" And that was enough for me to know that he's a great dude. I'm sure others could vouch for me who are more connected in athletics. But anyway, so that's the state of women's basketball right now. They're looking pretty good. Phil, I want you to keep an eye on this game. Tell the people you can interrupt whenever you want if something big happens, and we'll when this is out, the game will be over. Obviously, people will be able to follow our excitement or our disappointment as it goes along. You guys will be part of our journey, which is cool.
As much as I am a moral victories, there's a lot to be encouraged about with this game, besides the absolute piss poor officiating. But you know, the problem is we've just had some stretches where we just can't buy a basket. And the Baylor band's doing the horns down like they do to Texas. Oh, that's cute.
You know what? That actually makes me a little happy that we're being acknowledged that we do the horns thing. Why has no one scored in the last 20 seconds?
The defense in this game, first of all all credit to Baylor. Their defense is absolutely incredible. That being said,
yeah, sure,
our defense, yeah, they're just a step below there. They've held a team that, to be fair, Baylor hasn't played anybody, but they average a lot of points. Right now, towards the end of the third quarter, they have 37. So that tells you all you need to know about the Bulls defense. So,
yeah, all right. So let's transition into men's basketball because we're still on this subject. I'm pulling up their cumulative stats and all their crap. What the fuck is going on with these Bulls, baby?
I'm not even sure if I don't even know what to think about it. Just because the Boston College game loss. That was a game you're thinking, it's like, all right, they played hard and, we can learn a lot from a game like this. But, oh my God, they could not buy a basket in that second half.
Yeah, and then you go on and lose to a team like IUPUI, which major respect to these guys, a college I've never heard of in my entire life. I don't even know if they're Division I or Division II or even a college in the United States. Congratulations on beating the Bulls. We should have come out angry after the Boston College loss. This was a game at home. We should have won. We lost by 17 points.
Part of that,
no excuses.
No excuses. They couldn't hit a shot. They couldn't
hit a shot. I think Colin Sherman was tweeting about how they were 24% for at the end of the first half.
That's not going to get it done.
That's unacceptable.
That's not going to get it done against the five of us playing them.
Right. That's like if you're going to the YMCA and you're the NBA team, and or how about this? How about the NCAA youth group is coming into your stadium, your arena, and you're the Brooklyn Nets, and you have Kyrie Irving, and you have all these good players that were highly touted guys with history together. And that's what we've been saying, right? They all have history together now because they all had to play together. And they have faced a little bit of adversity, like the Brooklyn Nets. Their star player is injured. Things are a little shaky right now, but you can't afford to lose these winnable games early in the season against your IUPUIs. Your Arkansas Pine Bluff, who we beat, St. Louis, we beat, all these Canadian teams from the preseason. But when it matters, you gotta beat these guys.
And we're gonna find out a lot. First of all, this is nothing against Brian Gregory. I still have supreme confidence in him that he's going to get us to where we need to be. It's a tough draw losing 2 days before opening day, your best player. And now we also found out right after the IUPUI game, so all the bad news just completely multiplying, that Myron Kerr is no longer with the program. Oh, how is that a foul and not a travel? Jesus Christ.
Carl, take any sound bites from Phil and make them a soundboard. I think it'd be hilarious. Okay, so we have Wofford up next.
We're gonna learn a lot about this team for how they come out to that game. They've had what? It's been 2 weeks now since we've learned that Yetno's going to be out. They've probably known for a little bit Kerr's going to be out, so we're getting to the point where no excuses. No excuses. Go out and take care of business.
Right. The last game that Wofford had, they lost to Missouri by a significant margin. Hopefully that means they're shit. They lost to Butler. They are not great. This should be an easy win for the Bulls.
Theoretically. So, update, It's 41-37 after 3. So, we're down 4.
One more time.
And all you can do when you're playing a team that is honestly better than you is stick around. Stick around and try to win it at the end. They're sticking around, so we'll see.
All right. So back to men's basketball. After Wofford, we have Loyola Chicago, then Furman, Dartmouth, Drexel, Utah State, right? That's 5 games in a row. No, okay. Loyola Chicago was in the tournament last year, and we're in Georgetown for these sets of games. This is the Cayman Islands Classic.
So they'll be
tournament.
playing. What I'm very curious about, especially now that our depth has been, somebody took a sledgehammer to our depth. That's 3 games in 3 days on the 25th, 26th, and 27th of November. I'm very curious to see how they're going to hold up the end of Game 2 and Game 3.
I think they're going to lose to Loyola, just because I think Loyola is a good basketball team and USF is still figuring things out. Then we have TBAs, so we don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully these guys win and want to come home for Thanksgiving.
On a good note.
But then, on a good note. But then you have Furman, Dartmouth, and Drexel.
Well, I'm seeing who else is in the Cayman Island Classic.
Sure. While you do that, these are nobodies. These should not be a problem. 3 cupcakes in a row after the Cayman Islands Classic that you should win. Because then it gets a little serious. Then we go to Houston, Texas for Battleground 2K19 against Utah State. And then we have the Orange Bowl Basketball Classic, Florida State, Florida Atlantic, SMU, UConn, East Carolina, Memphis, UCF, Wichita State, Houston, Tulane, yada, 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 et cetera, conference play. There's no excuses if you lose.
What's a realistic expectation? Because we were going into the year, we were expecting them to be above the NCAA tournament, but that was assuming we were having the we had. Now we don't. What should we?
We don't.
Our expectations a little bit.
We shouldn't have any expectations because as of today, we have 0 ranked competition our entire schedule. So no matter what our schedule, no matter what our wins and losses look like, none of these teams are ranked right now.
I don't think that'll stay the case. So SMU, especially in Dallas, is always tough. Memphis, they're going to be good this year with the recruiting class. Wichita State's a tough game. Houston, tough game. Tulane, you never know what you're going to get with them. Tulsa can be tricky. UConn, I'm not sure about UConn. And then Cincinnati. Cincinnati's almost always in the top 25 or always a tournament team, so they're going to be tough. So some of the other teams in the Cayman Island Classic include New Mexico State, Old Dominion, Colorado State, George Mason, Washington State. So
some of those teams are pretty decent.
We're going to get tested.
It's a good tournament. It's a good tournament. Those are going to be all those teams, Loyola Chicago, USF, all the teams you mentioned, potential bubble teams for the tournament this year. It's
what
a
I
good
want to see
ground
from this team, come out and wax Wofford. Take out all your frustration of the first 3 games out on Wofford. Go to the Cayman Islands. I'm not going to say go get 3 wins because I don't think we have the depth to do that. But just look good for 3 games, play hard, get a little bit of confidence back. As you mentioned, we have 2 or 3 games in a row against teams we should beat. Get a little bit of momentum before we have to start playing the Florida States, the Utah States, and the gauntlet that's known as the American Athletic Conference.
One benefit that we have after the Cayman Islands Classic is we have a little bit of downtime. We have 5 days. We have like half a week between the last game of the Cayman Islands Classic and the game against Furman, then 4 days between those games in Dartmouth, and then we have like 9 days off, over a week off before the Drexel game. All of those games are at home. We should win all of them. And then in 3 days we're at Utah State at Houston, Texas, which we're familiar with Houston, Texas. We've been there a million times. We should be the victor here. It's not going to be like a home game, but we have history in that arena. I think we have a good team. I do. I'm a little peeved about the weak losses to IUPUI and Boston College.
I'm not going to say Boston College is a weak loss because they're going to be a bubble team, but
yeah, but we did lose by 14
There's no excuse to
points.
losing to IUPUI. recruits in the
None.
early signing period. One was four-star shooting guard Caleb Murphy, I think that's his name.
So that's
and the second one was
any other important
from Oak Hill, one of the top prep
and
schools in the country, Emmanuel Opokomo, who is a 6'10", 220-pound with 7'7" wingspan center. And he'll be there to take over for Marachevich because he's going to graduate. Murphy will take over for he'll probably take over for Quincy. So we'll figure it out from there, but solid recruiting. We'll see what we have with the team this year. We'll see how they can bounce back from a little bit of adversity. But no reinforcements are on the way. We've got some solid reinforcements, and I believe we have one more scholarship if my math adds up. So we will see what happens, but just keep playing hard, and we'll see what happens.
All right. Let's talk. Let's do some soccer talk. Men's or women's first, buddy? Your call.
Well, the men they lost an absolutely brutal game in the AAC semifinals to a top 10 SMU who went on to win the tournament. And not to be too controversial on this show,
be controversial.
That was an effing.
That's what the ratings are.
That was an effing handball.
It was a fucking handball.
Look at the video. It is not even close. So thank you for that, American. And thank you for that. We had to sit on the bubble because SMU, if we would have even drawn that, because how college soccer works, if you go to penalty kicks in the tournament, it goes down as a draw for both teams, and then whoever wins the shootout advances on penalties. But a draw against a top 10 team would have pretty much sealed the deal. Instead, we had to wait on the bubble for another, 6-7 days. Before, this team was very rightly rewarded an at-large bid. We're dancing, baby.
Let's fucking go. We go to the University of Louisville, at Louisville, Kentucky. We've beaten them this year already. When Louisville was ranked number 5 in the country, we beat them 2-0, September 9th at 7 p.m.
And that 2-0 game, the score does not do that game justice. USF was the better team from the opening kick to the final whistle. And 2-0, that will not do that game justice. The Bulls were outstanding that night. Now, looking at
people are gonna say they're gonna tweet at us, or they're gonna just angrily sit there and be like, "Oh, it was early in the year, 2-0 over number 5 Louisville doesn't mean anything because those rankings don't mean shit." A few days earlier, we were at Maryland, who was number 1 in the country, lost 0-1. And I'm sure those Maryland fans would not take that away from them. It's just wins over top teams matter no matter what time of the year it is. Now, we're going to Louisville this year for the tournament. They came to us the first time, so they're probably a little peeved that they lost their ranking that week because we kicked their asses so hard.
That's what does scare me, especially looking at the women, and we'll get into them, but the path of just utter revenge they've been on. But, the men have to be feeling very confident. I mean, did you see the video of how they reacted when they heard their name on the bracket?
Oh, they went insane. That is emotion I haven't seen from a USF team in a very long time, win or lose. These guys love each other. They like being a team. They know that they're supporting everybody. The coaching is great. The facilities are good. The stadium loves these guys. I'm confident.
I will say, a couple of us were having, some debates. Was Buthorn on the hot seat going into this year? I would like to issue my apology to Bob Buthorn. Fantastic job with this group this year.
Let's go win a tourney.
So, funny you mentioned that. So, you got to think we were 30 RPI. So, when you take in all of the automatic qualifiers from teams that wouldn't have made the tournament otherwise, you got to figure, we were probably one of the last teams in. Fair?
100%. We waited forever.
Look at the draw. We play Louisville, a team we've beaten and a team we know we can beat. If we get by there, we don't have to play the 1 seed. We don't have to play the 2 seed. We play the 14 seed, which, they're the 14th ranked team in the tournament for a reason in UC Davis, so we would have to take them seriously. But all things considered, for being one of the last teams in the tournament, this is a good draw. We can beat Louisville. We can beat UC Davis. That would get us in the Sweet 16. Against the Georgetown team, we beat the last time we saw. And I think we were all at that game.
Exactly.
All I'm trying to say is if you think the men are going to be scared of anybody on their side of the draw, you're hilarious. We're playing with house money at this point. The mission of this year, get back to the NCAA tournament, is accomplished. The job's done.
That's what I'm saying, and why I'm confused about why you guys are so mad about, we're not hosting. The only benefit of hosting is home field advantage, right? Plus having your fans there. But if you get to play weaker teams than you on the road, it's going to do something for your confidence to beat teams on the road. So if you're a good road team, and I think we're a good road team, these, like you said, smaller programs or teams that are genuinely not as good as we are, but they have a higher seeding and got to host, we should run them out of their own fucking stadium.
So we play Louisville on the 21st, 6:30 kickoff on Central Time Zone, so 7:30 here on the East Coast.
You love to see it. Carly going in and out. It's what happens when you mature as a coach, and you mature with your players, and you become altogether a more well-rounded team that trusts in one another and relies on one another to get the job done. And when someone makes you angry, you, as a team, go out and you prove them wrong. There's not a selfish person on our team or in the management or in the coaching. Everyone's working together.
I can do Thursday, and then maybe we got to do something for the women. Carl, you were there. How did we look in Gainesville? How'd it go?
Oh, boy, were they mad! Oh my lord! Florida did have a couple moments of where they looked fairly dangerous before USF really pulled away, but after USF parried those attacks away and started to take control again, it was so over. Florida didn't have a chance against this team. And it was a whole group effort. Evelyn Van might have had a hat trick. She doesn't score those without her wingers. twice they picked the ball straight off the foot of the fullback, and her hat trick goal was Sydney DeCello, I believe, taking the ball straight off the foot of the keeper.
I will say what I enjoyed.
That was a team effort, and everyone earned it. Yes, their striker is very, very good. She earned those 2 goals. Vienne earned those 3 goals just as much. The team earned those goals just as much.
Now,
it was
Carl,
absolutely glorious, and that was an ass kicking. Do not get it mixed up with anything else. That was an absolute ass kicking.
So, Carl, just for our listeners, we obviously know that Vienne's is amazing, but she's Canadian, and she got passed up for the World Cup this summer. Was there somebody on Florida who made that roster?
Yes, it was the striker that she outdueled, in fact. The striker on Florida who scored 2 was the girl who went to France. Vienne had a hat trick. I don't have anything else to add.
So,
the results speak for themselves. I'm aware of this fact.
But Hafty, you very passionately said last week, take that frustration, go on the road, and make Florida pay for the NCAA's mistake. Oh boy, did they do that and then some. Like there were now, for me, there were nervous moments watching, especially when, we're up 3-0. There's still 30 minutes to go, and Florida gets one back, because we've all seen how quickly Florida can score. But
from those of us watching the stadium,
we could hear
really
you, by the way.
Honestly, that goal didn't scare us a hell of a lot. I don't think that we were ever really going to keep Florida off the board, because, yes, there is a reason that striker went to France. There's very much a reason for that. However, it was not going to be enough to beat the team effort. One of the things that I noticed is that the Cello stuck like glue to the one of their midfielders, their supply girl, who was trying to supply that striker. Stuck to her like glue, harassed her the entire night, and cut off that supply. That's a team effort. That's a hell of a job by Nacello there to make sure that she wasn't going anywhere. She was not going to get those balls in. That's game planning from Denise right there.
And like I said last week,
worked like a damn it.
And anyway, like I said last week, I don't always agree with Denise on a tactical level. I've seen her made some really decisions I just don't agree with personnel wise. However, this is by far the best I've ever seen her manage a tournament, manage a game. This team has been something else since conference play.
3 games, 3 revenge games. Every single time they looked better than they did the first time.
And now, so that no. It was beautiful watching the interaction. So Derek Sharp tweets a video of Evelyn and Hawk's daughter celebrating a goal, making a comment, something along the lines of, pretty heavy shove there, just saying how excited they were. And you just see them.
Sure, why not?
Their banter on Twitter. It's like, don't worry, we're still friends. And it's like, that's what you love to see in a team.
Exactly.
And so FSU, they did take care of business against South Alabama 2-0. So the tournament for us is going to shift to Tallahassee, where we play the 4th seed in the region in Washington, who got a 1-0 win against Seattle. Winnable game.
I'd say it's a winnable game. Yeah, I mean, it's really going to be hard to tell because obviously I don't know anything about Washington. I don't know anything about Seattle. I wasn't able to watch anything in that game. The thing for me right now is the fact that USF was able to get 4 goals on a very good Florida team. Like, don't get me wrong, that was a very good Florida team they played.
What I like is go back to last year.
All right,
the only way we scored is if Ev scored. And now this year, yes, Ev scores
Baylor,
a lot.
USF
But what I really liked
game,
about that UF game,
with a minute 37 left,
sit back and watch the highlights.
Baylor is up.
None of them were. Do you remember the Memphis game last year, where the only reason we won is Ev had 2 moments where she went 1-on-4 with the defender and won.
A little bit of time,
right?
None of those goals were like that.
8 points is
she just had the tap-in part of the job.
But
exactly.
2 threes.
She had the supply from the rest of her team. Every single goal almost every goal that Ev has scored this year has been some sort of team effort. She has not had to go 1-on-4 basically the entire year, and that's what made the difference in the Florida game. Her wingers were so aggressive. They were so great. Those fullbacks had no idea how to handle it, and the captain of the Florida team, a girl that I've watched play since high school because she went to my high school, and they had her turned around. They had her guessing. She had a couple good moments. For the most part, she was outmatched by those wingers. She's a very good player. USF had them swarmed.
So
it was something else.
So is it a reasonable? We can beat this team. This is after this year. We lose Ev.
Yeah, they should.
We lose Hawksdaughter.
All right, so that's all the sports talk for today.
We lose McGrath.
We're gonna do.
We lose McGrath. We also lose
segment,
Bleffin, and we lose Rebecca Anderson in the middle.
We're coming off
the point I'm
Anderson,
trying to make.
Not necessarily a starter all the time, but a very key member of that
George
midfield.
Selvey, who
the
is
point
a
I'm
former
trying
New
to
York
make.
Giant
This is our last
pretty
shot for at least a little bit
in the NFL.
This is our last shot to really make a run. This is a very doable draw. They can beat this Washington team. That would do wonders for this program. Even if we couldn't get by Florida State, who, they have national titles.
That's a good team right there.
Getting to the Sweet 16 would be massive for this program. To finally get over that little mental hump, just whatever. We just cannot get out of the second round for whatever reason.
They've been getting over humps all year long. I wouldn't be overly surprised if they managed to get it done against Washington this year. And plus, also, we really do have home field advantage against Washington right now because they not only that they fly all the way across country, they're flying against the time zones. They're going to have 3 or 4 hours of less sleep than usual into warmer weather, which they're not going to be remotely as used to. This is the Pacific Northwest we're talking about.
So we want this game to be as hot as possible.
It's not going to be ridiculously hot, but it'll be weird. They'll probably find it fairly pleasant, but it's not going to be quite as pleasant as they're thinking it's going to be.
Plus, a big advantage for us is the game is being played 2:00 on the East Coast. So
exactly.
That's
going to be the height of. That's going to be the height of. That's going to be the height of the day right there. That's going to be as hot as it's going to get, and USF's going to bring a fair contingency. It's within driving distance. The parents will definitely be there. There'll be a couple students there, a couple former students. They'll be chanting. The USF will be heard, and Washington is not going to have the biggest contingency of all time. That's asking a lot of even parents to fly all the way across the country. There will be some. Don't get me wrong. But that's still asking a lot. That's an expensive plane ticket.
So since we're not gonna have another podcast before the round of 32 and the Sweet 16 is played, do we have a shot at getting to the Elite Eight, getting by Florida State or Brown?
I'll be honest.
It's a tall order.
I'm not going to answer that because it's a very, very tall order. If any team's going to do it, it's this one. But this is still, the number 1 seed in the entire tournament?
No, just the number 1 seed in the
Tyler's
region.
Dealing with his
number 1 seed in the region, but
tonight,
the reigning national champs.
So
it's always a tall order.
All I'll say, and You know what? I think that's
his
fair.
choice
I'm
for
not
the
going
Hall
to
of Fame would
completely
be
answer my own
Matt
question.
Grothe.
All I'm going to say is
It's not impossible.
we were winning at one point last year, and we are
reason
not
being,
the same
and I'm
team
going to
we
read
were
this
last year.
verbatim.
Same player.
Grothe
We are
for the
a
Hall of
better
Fame
team than we were last year.
because he played
That's
with
the big
most
thing.
heart
We were
Washington.
leading
ever
last year,
seen anyone
and
play
we're a better team
with
this
at
year.
USF.
Get
It's
by
not
He
Washington.
brought
Get by
he brought us
Washington, and we're
to
playing
our
with house
highest
money.
recognition and went 4-0 against UCF. His honorable mention is Anthony Collins. For the run we had at March Madness, he's the epitome of the perfect point guard for that team and that time. So Matt Grothe and Anthony Collins. I 100% agree.
And Baylor's going right back to the free throw line.
It's
We looked all right. We looked all right tonight. We definitely did not. We definitely
Baylor
did
has an
not play our
8-point
best.
lead with the minute. Baylor has an 8-point lead with a minute. How much left on the clock?
1 minute.
That's a hell of a showing.
We did not play our best basketball tonight. We missed a lot of shots. We did. I'm very curious to see the final foul numbers of this game. And there's the dagger. There's a 3-point dagger, and that's going to end it. And this is the first time all game though Baylor their lead to past 10 points. So while we didn't play our best ball today, still a hell of an effort. Jose had this team ready to play, and I pity the next team we play because we play at home next. I pity that team. This team's going to be pissed. Also, Sarah Nevins, you can't say, like, whenever she got the ball, USF could beat anybody in the country. There's no ifs, ands, or buts on that.
As someone who doesn't follow baseball or softball in the slightest, even I knew how good Sarah Nevins was.
So that leads me to ask you guys a question. So I would do this like the NFL, where you have to be out of the league for 5 years. However, since most of us only started following the school 6 years ago, we'll limit it down to 2 since the last of us graduated undergrad. So who is the greatest athlete that would be eligible to be inducted into the Hall of Fame? Carl.
So it's the thing for me. I'm gonna absolutely cheat here and say that because I can't say Evelyn Vienne, I'm gonna go with Demi Stokes because she's one of the best fullbacks in the world in women's soccer. That's not up for debate. She started several games for England in the World Cup, and England is one of the best teams in the world in women's soccer. Hands down. However, Demi was just as good for USF as she is for England and Manchester City. It's really a shame that she never got a conference ring.
That's a fair argument.
That said, my real answer to that is Evelyn Vienne, even though she hasn't graduated yet. The moment she's eligible, she will be going in. Like I said, her jersey should be getting retired at the soonest possibility because of what she's done for the school. Shattered every single record, and man, getting a hat trick against Florida, a team we've never beaten, that's a Hall of Fame moment right there.
I can't argue with that other than just against the rules for this, but biggest goal she's ever scored for USF. Hafty, what did Tyler couldn't be with us tonight, but he sent us his answer. What did he say?
All right. So Tyler's dealing with his young child tonight. So he wrote in our Discord chat, his choice for the Hall of Fame would be Matt Grothe.
Hashtag hire Grothe.
Reason being, and I'm going to read this verbatim, Grothe for the Hall of Fame because he played with the most heart I've ever seen anyone play with at USF. And he brought us to our highest recognition and went 4-0 against UCF. His honorable mention is Anthony Collins. for the run we had at March Madness. He's the epitome of the perfect point guard for that team and that time. So Matt Grothe and Anthony Collins. I 100% agree.
I can't make any arguments there. I'm going to go back to women's sports. The USF GOAT, Courtney Williams, who very nearly led the Connecticut Suns to a WNBA championship this year. Here's my argument. I was going to have some stat analysis. Our records on our website say that Courtney's still a student here, so I don't know how accurate that's going to be, but not even the Death Star known as UConn women's basketball had an answer for Courtney Williams. Even when Courtney was gone, and Kit Loxa, and this is not a knock on her, but she would struggle against Connecticut. Courtney played her best basketball against UConn and almost got us to that elusive win. She did everything she could to make that happen. She dragged us to, within 3 minutes of the Sweet 16 her sophomore year, in arguably one of the greatest games played at the Sun Dome between USF and Louisville. Now, Courtney was, I think, the best women's basketball player to ever suit up for Jose Fernandez. Definitely one of the top two to ever play behind Jessica Dixon, but that's my pick. So Hafty, finish us off. Who's your pick?
All right, so I was going to have two, and I'm still going to have two, but I wanted to choose between one or the other for football and then one for men's soccer. Instead of two for football. I wanted to do Quentin Flowers and Marlon Mack because they should go in together. Right?
Okay.
That makes sense. But for the sake of taking out the obvious answer, we're going to go with Marlon Mack for the USF football team and Spasoje Stefanovic.
Spasoje.
Only because in 2020, he's eligible for the Hall of Fame. But also, dude was awesome. We're friends on PS4. Spas was one of a kind. In his 2015 year, he was named preseason all conference, preseason goalkeeper of the year, AAC second team, 58 saves in 2015. That year he had a career high 9 saves against North Florida. Dude was an absolute beast. The year prior, he had 4 shutouts on the year and had a 1-0 victory against UCF, which is huge. And he stopped 2 PKs in the conference tournament semifinal against UConn.
Yeah, can I tell a story?
Go ahead.
So funny you mentioned that shootout. So I was going through a couple days ago, my Facebook memories, and there was a video taken by Amy in our old dorm in Kosov Hall, where you, me, Carl, and Kara, Michael, and what's his wife's name, Amber, Alex, and then can't remember who else was there, but it's like a bunch of just OG goal mouths, and we're just sitting around. The TV wasn't working, the computer went down, and we're all just huddled around this iPad. Carl's the small iPad, and we're just watching this shootout. And you can't see the screen from this video. You can only see our reactions, and you can tell that Spas was just locked in and loaded. And it's just I miss those old goalmouth days, because those were the awesome. And then I'll always remember watching the video of Spas tipping the winning shot over the bar to beat UConn. Always fun beating UConn in, anything. And then he just walks out 5 steps, puts his arms out, does the "Are you not entertained?" as he's getting mobbed by his teammates.
Yeah, I almost picked Bartman over him, but there's no that team without Spas. But
Agreed.
for my real number one pick for the Hall of Fame, it's Marlon Mack. Arguably the most successful USF athlete in history. He graduated from USF and is now racking up 100-point game, 100-yard game after 100-yard game after 100-yard game in the NFL for the Indianapolis Colts. Great organization, doing really cool things over there. But while he was at USF, I'm going to read you a list of all of the things he did. And luckily, USF football puts them in a list as opposed to Spas, who puts them in paragraphs. But here we go. USF and AAC all-time career leading rusher at 3,609 yards. USF career all-purpose yardage leader at 4,107 yards. USF career touchdown leader with 33. USF record 20 career 100-yard games. 2016 Maxwell Player of the Year candidate. 2016 Walter Camp Player of the Year candidate. 26 Doak Walker Award candidate. 3-time first team All AAC 2014, 15, and 16. 2014 American Conference Rookie of the Year. He had the previous USF rushing record on a season at 1,381 in 2015, which, by the way, would only be broken by Quentin fucking Flowers.
Well,
He
what was
led the American. I'm not done yet. There's more.
My apology.
There's more. Yes. He led the American Conference in rushing in 2 seasons, 14 and 15 season. He set the USF and American Conference game record for rushing, 275 yards.
Jeez.
He also owns 14 other USF records.
That's insanity.
He's the greatest pure athlete we've ever seen at USF. I don't care what anybody says. Quentin Flowers, for as good as he is, and he's a hero, and I love him. I had to choose Marlon Mack over him simply because of the amount of records, but also because of his success post-USF career.
That's what I would say. I would say Mack would get the bump for me, especially, he just had a 100-yard day for the NFL. Heal quickly. That's a rough injury there. Hopefully the Colts will get him back. And this is coming from a guy whose NFL team would be suited for the Colts to drop a couple. Please come back. It's just, he's so much fun to watch. But what was so fun to watch about those teams is everybody was so petrified of what Mack was going to do to them. Suddenly, Q would pull the ball a couple times and run for 10, 15 yards each. Suddenly, they were really terrified of what Q would do. Then he would just hand them off. And
that offense was the most electric thing I've ever seen on a football field in my entire life. And I watched the Giants win 2 Super Bowls over the Patriots.
There was every time that ball was snapped, there was a 50-50 chance who was getting that football. Q didn't even know it until, he read the defense. That is terrifying. And hopefully that's something that almost said Oladokin, that McLeod will just feel a little bit more comfortable with. But yeah. Absolutely. And the one other reason that you have to add Mack is his final touchdown as a ball was the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen in my life. And it was against Central Florida. And I love that touchdown run forever. That 50-something yard touchdown run where he has the ball in one hand, stiff arming, switches hands, does another, and just 3 or 4 stiff arms on his way to the end zone, right in front of the student section on rivalry day. Helped us win the road sign. Most disrespectful run I've ever seen, and I love every second of it.
It's the biggest GIF USF has. If you type in USF football into Giphy, you're going to get that run in the top 3 options. Everything else below that is us losing in the Big East to Miami.
The 2 biggest plays in War on I-4 history, I would say, at least since we've been here, is that run and Tyree dragging a guy for 15 yards.
Yes. Those are 2 of the most electric plays ever. But let's not forget, when USF played FSU and we lost this game, it was not a close game. But the first 10 minutes of the game were super fucking fun.
That was a heavyweight fight.
It was, or at least in the first quarter. USF fucking ran it 100 yards for a touchdown. Marlon Mack, but and then Dalvin Cook.
We also hit Rod. Oh my
Cook
God!
on the other side ran the other direction, about the same length. I think they were about 75 yards for both runs. And it was like two plays. And it was amazing. And you'll never, until you go to see an NFL football game, you're never going to see two NFL caliber running backs playing together against each other on a USF football game. We haven't had that since Marlon Mack. We're not going to see it after Marlon Mack for a long time. Kronk was supposed to be the guy. He's not the guy. Could be Sands, but it's not Sands. Could be a few guys, but it's really not. You'll never see another Marlon Mack at USF. He's going to be the most successful USF Bull, in my opinion.
I was working that game. I mean, how I remember that play, that first play of the FSU game, is I had to run back in the tunnel. I forgot what I was doing, getting something ready for the first media timeout, and you just feel the stadium shake. You hear the roar. Stick my head back out. You hear the siren. You hear the band playing, and you're like, let's go. The day didn't end up well, but that team was so much fun.
It was.
I'm not going to start ranting about our coaching again, though.
No. We're going to end on a positive note. That's it for this week's episode of the podcast. Sorry it got split up into two unequal recordings. We wish we all could be here, but we had some technical difficulties. Hopefully we worked it all out.
Please let us know who's your Hall of Fame pick.
Have a good night. Hopefully, we have a good few days for these USF Bulls. Let's go win some tournament games. That's all, and go Bulls.